Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Scottish Silverback Podcast. And we're restarting and taking take two on this one because we tried to record one last week and my internet connection was horrendous, so we had to call it a day. And I don't think Greg will be joining us today, and I think we've got Erin joining us at some point, so we'll invite her back in. But if it's just me and Jack, I suppose that's still a good crew. And so we've not done a podcast in ages. I can't even remember the last time we done one, but the response that we get from the podcast is pretty cool. So I know a lot of people do listen to it, and people do watch it because there's no one else really in Scotland that does this kind of thing. So, and of course we've got some quality guys and now girl on the podcast as well. So, so you were talking about linking up with Gaz and Adam at Flex Unit at some point.
Yeah, so that's this weekend. So we're through to train Flex. It'll be the first time I've actually trained in Flex since they've had the extension. So there's a lot of people putting it on a podium as, one of the top tier gyms in Scotland. So it'll be good to try it out. The good thing with Flex is it's such an assortment of kit as well. Even when I was there last time, they've got everything. So I'm looking forward to playing with some new toys. This will be good.
Yeah. Shout out to Flex Unit, even though we're not being paid.
Big lad.
I wish we were. I think it's so it'll just be me and you today, mate. So Erin can't come. Anyway, so let's discuss the past season then, because obviously we competed together at both the Scottish and Alicante as well.
Yeah.
Because I've always wanted to stand on stage with you because I think I've told you that a million times, but like when I first saw you as a junior, I was like, fucking hell, this boy's fucking phenomenal. So
I said the same thing. Yeah, I always said the same thing. Probably a Graham thing as well.
Aye. We kind of have the common denominator.
Yeah, the roots all tie back to the same place. I think as well. When I was a junior, when I was trying to pack on tissue, the person who was always showed to me on a picture of a phone was you. So I was like, finally got to compete against this guy. So no, it was good. It was really cool. Both home and abroad as well. So
yeah. What do you make of the Scottish?
It's what it is. It's what I expected. To be fair, it was the only thing that's disappointing was it was quite quiet. Typically, when you look at like other Scottish events, so you get PCA Scottish, the first thing you think of is like the crowd and how loud they are as well. I found the Scottish Two Bros just seemed to be quite quiet and quite tame. I don't know if that's just because there wasn't as many athletes taking part in the show, or just I don't know where it was, but I just didn't have the life about it that certain other Scottish shows have. You look at Granite and all these other shows, but for me it was that was just the regional to get me through to Spain anyway. So but no, I enjoyed it. It was good. It's good to see everyone. It was good to be part of the first one in Scotland as well. But it was certainly a tame Scottish show, I would say.
I agree. So, like you said, the PCA Scottish and the IBFA Granite are pinnacles in Scottish bodybuilding. Like the Granite is. I don't know how much I can now talk about other federations, but fuck, I don't care. So they are brilliant shows, and the PCA Scottish, like you said, is just fucking wild because it's usually around the Glasgow area, and we know that Glaswegians can make a fair noise, and the Granite's always phenomenal as well. So I do think that having it in Lochgelly hurt them a wee bit in terms of the crowds. I mean, I don't understand why. Well, Heather McDonald kind of explained to me a wee bit. Like she did advocate for SW3, which is in the West End of Glasgow, and I don't know. I think it was down to money or something like that. I don't know, but I hopefully Two Bros change it next year and they have it in Glasgow because it's the central belt. I know obviously that's a trek for you, but at the end of the day, like draw the crowds and have the big venues. It needs to be in the central belt, I think. But
no, I agree. Even for accommodation, like my accommodation for the Scottish was in this place called Coaltown, Wemyss, and it was like a wee seaside village. It was nowhere near Lochgelly. Actually, getting accommodation in Lochgelly was a nightmare. And it was everyone was staying in all these little villages dotted about the place. If you want an Airbnb, obviously you don't want to stay in a hotel when you're competing, but Yeah, it just wasn't wasn't the best. And to be honest, in terms of like time, although it's closer to me as the crow flies, I think we were actually more time on the road because it's all B roads and shit. So
back
it
roads.
would have been easier just to drive straight through to Glasgow. So
Yeah, I know it's. But hopefully, like I said, hopefully next year it is a bigger, more lively show. They also need to change the times for it as well because it was, what was that? Was it 4 or 5 weeks after PCA? 4 weeks?
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I think that's just a bit too long for a show that could potentially be huge. That's
Yeah.
too far after the PCA Scottish because the PCA Scottish is still the daddy in Scotland. So, but no, like you said, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed standing on stage with you and Liam. Like, it was quite cool how it's not often that the super heavies are like the biggest class. I know there's only 3 of us, but that kind of shows you the numbers in the other classes as well. But it was it was really cool. I really enjoyed the Scottish. So
100%. Even that, the show as a whole as well was quite a high standard because you had Ross there as well. There was Ryan
as well.
Ryan. So like it was really good, really high standard, even though it was a small tournament.
Yeah, and then you had the likes of obviously Kirk O'Brien in physique, and you had Dylan Guthrie in physique as well. Like those guys are like, well, they're both
physique, 100%.
Yeah, so it was a great start. It was a great standard to just, if we can just bump the numbers up next year and get a bit more promotion behind it, a bit more money behind it. I think it would. I think it'll go down a treat.
Yeah, get this fucking the costing model for the tickets. Get it to fuck. It didn't. I think that's what deterred people. Certainly from the feedback I've had, was the split cost for the guys and the girls. People were just like, nah, fuck paying that.
Yeah, but it's funny though because if you had a conjoined ticket for both sections and just like bump the price up a wee bit, people wouldn't notice because you're getting both. So exactly. So it's just the fact that people are just so apprehensive about, oh, what, I've got to buy 2 tickets to sit in the same seat. You know what I mean? So it wasn't the best, but like you said though, it was just a stepping stone to Alicante, which I'm sure you'll agree was a fucking phenomenal show. Like everything about it was just you felt like an IFBB pro, like walking into that show.
It was so cool.
Yeah,
so cool. Even in the registration, so I said to Greg, even the registration is like nothing I've ever been a part of at a show before. It's like fucking nuts. People having me like free shit and all this stuff, getting given like gas wrist wraps and all that stuff. It was like, this is nuts. This is what my registration fee is for. So it was good, really good.
Yeah.
Worth everything.
I think on the outtake of last week's podcast, Greg mentioned comparing Alicante to the Arnold UK, and I think they're both great in their own rights. But like you said, it's just something about Spain. That venue was just so cool.
I think I would actually say personally that I would say Spain, because Spain is just bodybuilding. The Arnold UK is it's a broader event, and I think I felt at the Arnold UK that bodybuilding played a really small part of it. You had more people queuing up to watch the high rock stuff than you did people coming to sit at the bodybuilding stuff. And we had this groggy little corner stage. I mean, it's different for you guys because you had the main stage, but maybe that's why my opinion's different. But I think the bodybuilding in Spain is the main event. It's the only thing people are there for. The production value as well is just nuts.
Aye. It was not only that, it was the wee things like, backstage is like nice and open. There's like fresh air coming in, and like the trophies and the medals are all class, and the stage itself, the huge screen behind you, which is really cool, which I've not had since I competed in Harrogate in 2013. So, being able to like see all that, and it was just phenomenal. And I would definitely advocate for every Brit or Scot to go over there if they really want to try for their pro card, even like just to experience the Alicante stage, because there's like 5 or 6 shows there a year, pro qualifiers, and like I said, they go all out. They go out with production, they go all out with that, they go out with this, and it's just it was phenomenal. So pretty delighted with competing. I always knew I wanted to do that because that's the reason I went over with Greg last year, was to just see the stage, and then obviously I had James in Classic as well in September. So it was it's brilliant.
Yeah, and, no, I think I definitely recommend anyone to do it, even if you think you're miles off, taking off, kind of placing in that show, like the actual experience of just being there. I certainly left that show regardless of the outcome for me wanting to do more. And I think even just being backstage around these guys is like, it's the biggest fucking kick up the arse you're ever going to get. So it's like, but I think like being a part of it is a big kick, definitely.
Yeah. So you had on the lead up to the Scottish, you had a few speed bumps, if you want to call them that. Do you want to let us know what happened?
I had fucking AIDS. It was fucked. No, so I had, kind of come to the conclusion that I had COVID because I lost my taste for several weeks at the end of it. So the pneumonia was obviously caused by COVID. Shit kind of went downhill when I started taking antibiotics. So on a prep side of things, what I seen in my physique negatively really came when I started taking antibiotics. Just fucking destroyed my physique. My cheeks puffed up. I looked like I was back at like 15 weeks out. Everything really slowed down. My lymph nodes were swollen in my groin, like my armpits and stuff. It was just so ill, so run down. I could barely do steps. Like I was getting out of breath running a bath. So I can actually see, it's the first time I've ever had pneumonia, so I can see how it kills old folk quite easily because I was fucked. Yeah. But the impact it had, although the illness was only over kind of like a 2-3 week period, I genuinely feel it cost me far more than that in terms of weeks. But I think the best way I can describe it is with that prep, up until that point, it's the best things have ever gone. I couldn't have asked for things to be going any better. The momentum was there, and it just stopped that momentum hard. And to get it going after that was just difficult. And I think it just really felt like after that illness, my body was like, nah, like that's it. Like weight stopped going down as fast. Like even performance in the gym, everything just hit a wall, and it just didn't fuck off basically. So, but I think I touched on it last week. Was that I think probably a learning point for me is you obviously can't account for that stuff. But I think moving forwards, rather than like signing up for all my shows in a season, maybe just take it more as it comes. If I hadn't have had everything booked and planned, I might have done something slightly different. Done a later qualifier, maybe gone to Ireland and done the muscle contest or something different. But live and learn, eh?
Yeah, it's frustrating. You hear about like pros and stuff being hit with all these kind of illnesses and bugs like right before huge shows like the Olympia, like Phil Heath notoriously in 2009, like he had a stomach bug the night before, and Phil Heath off is still like our on by 1,000,000%.
Fully on.
But it did hurt him. I think he came fourth that year, fifth. But it can be frustrating because like you at the Granite, like the look you had at the Granite was unreal at your guest spot. So
that's 5 weeks, and that was on like I think like I was like 5 consecutive low days as well. And Greg was like, "We'll just cruise into this because it's just a guest spot, so we don't have to do anything for it." And then I think pre-stage, he gave me like a muffin and a couple of Squares bars, and that was it. That's what we did. So literally just kind of coasted into that. But that was very much like that I was really happy with how things looked there, especially for 5 weeks out. And I was like looking at Spain, and like fucking I looked better at Granite fucking 5 weeks out than I did here. So it just shows to me like the effect that I had my body. So I'm still glad I did it though.
Obviously I was watching your prep pretty close because obviously like I wasn't looking at it as if like fuck I'm going to be competing against this guy. Like obviously we've been like good friends for a while now, and I just wanted to see you nail it. And I think your partnership with Greg was definitely a good one because Greg seemed to figure out your body very, very quickly, and I think that was a huge part of the puzzle for you.
Yeah, I mean, Greg, to give an insight into what that prep was like. So I think from day one. So how I got started with Greg was a bit funny actually. It wasn't like a planned thing. So I was kind of doing bits with Graham, kind of sporadic, and I was sort of doing my own thing, and it was probably very similar to like what you do with Nick. And then I was starting to second guess myself. I was changing things almost every day, and I knew it was stupid doing it. That was the worst part, and I was like, it was so frustrating. Greg always messages randomly out of the blue, and he's like, "How's it going, mate? And how's off season? How's prep?" And just random messages, he gives a shit. It's cool. He dropped me a message one day, and he's like, "How's how's prep going? You haven't posted on socials in a while. Everything good? And I was like, yeah. And I'm just like, I kind of explained my position to him. He's like, fuck, man. He's like, you just need to. He started giving me some advice and some tips, and I was like, do you know what, mate? I was like, do you fancy a project? And he was like, yes, 1,000, like 1,000,000% or something. I've still got his message. And then we did it from there. But since the day I started with him, it was everyday check-ins from day one the whole way through. I was making trips through once, twice some weeks to Aberdeen to go and see him physically in person. So like, but behind the scenes, there was like a lot of engagement going on. Like I was, like I said, some weeks twice going through to Aberdeen, which is like a fucking 5-hour round trip for me. Just to go through for a check-in, go through for a session and stuff. So I've definitely seen the benefit of having someone who I can physically go and see in the flesh. I've never had that before, and I don't think I could do it again without that. So yeah, we learned a lot. So next time we're armed with a lot of information for next time for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like I say to everyone, like your time is coming, like 100%. Like I've always compared you to Justin Compton. Like you've just got the same kind of
JC
round bubbly look, and it's just like when that day will come, and it's gonna be fucking unreal. I know it is. So
that's it, man.
It's just a case of just figuring it out a wee bit and hopefully avoid pneumonia this time and go.
Exactly, I know. No, it's no. I mean, I think in what the cherry on the cake for Spain, for me, actually for the whole season, was being there for you getting your pro card. That was class. I think I actually said to you backstage. And I know it's always like a risky waters to tell someone before a decision has been made what you think is going to happen, because things can go different ways. But I genuinely was that confident in what was going to happen that I actually felt comfortable just saying it to you backstage.
I remember.
I wouldn't normally say that because things can go south, but genuinely, you wouldn't have seen what we can see. And I think it was like this. I think the point I was like, nah, he's fucking got this, is when I rollered your back for you, and everything was just so tight. I was like, nah, fucking, he's got this. And then I started seeing the other guys coming in, and there was some freaks there, but then you start looking at people's shape, and you're like, well, he's not got this, and it quickly became apparent. I was like, nah, it's coming on the plane home.
No, I was delighted with the look, and I said to Nick all through the prep, I was like, I think 255 is the look. That's the one that we like the most. It was full, it was dry, and the morning of Alicante, I was literally 255 on the dot, like no decimal points, nothing. I was like, that's a little bit of a fight, I would say. So we done nothing mad. We done the exact same. Did we do the exact same? Yeah, the exact same that we did for the Scottish. We did 2 meals. And then that was it. Just monitored water. I didn't even cut water too badly. I think we actually pushed water a little bit harder. As in we had more water in Alicante, so you have to account for the heat and all that as well. We done less diazide this time. So we done half a tab the night before, and then at the Scottish we done a quarter about 3 or 4 hours before. I didn't do that this time. I said to Nick, I don't think it's needed because of the heat and stuff. And but no, I was very happy. And then I think they made us do a ridiculous amount of rounds. It's all a bit of a blur, to be honest. But
mate, that's there's got to be something wrong with that, because I remember standing aside being like, fucking hell. I'm just standing there at the side, fucking holding a relaxed pose, and I'm getting fucked. How these guys feel? I know. That was almost excessive. I think I counted your rear double buys. It's 8 times they got you to hit a rear double buy, something like that. It's stupid.
I done 8. I must have done 8 rounds with the supers, and I done 3 rounds in the overall. 3, I think, minimum. Yeah, so I counted 11. I don't know if that's right in total. But that was. So I remember in 2019 at the NABA British, they made the class ones. Well, they made me do 5 call outs, and I remember after the 4th call out, I remember saying to myself, just stand there, because that stage was fucking boiling. That was even hotter than Alicante. I remember standing there going, see if they call me out one more time, I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to leave the fucking stage. I'm not doing another round. So to then do 11, I was like, fuck. And I was compared, what I thought when I was standing there, I was compared very heavily to the Spanish guy with the glasses. But then, because the guy that came second was the Swiss guy at the very end for most of the callouts. So
I still don't fully get that one. I don't know if I was seeing something completely different to everyone else, but I was looking at the guy with the glasses, and I honestly thought he'd be like a really good classic guy.
Yeah.
I don't know, that's just my opinion, but they didn't really pull you away from him, which was bizarre. And as he said, it was the guy far off. It was a bit strange, but there was a lot of. I mean, I was watching the judging panel. There was quite a lot of heated discussion going on at the table. So,
we talk about. I think we've touched on the podcast before about politics and stuff like that. And in my opinion, I think the politics card is well overplayed. Like when people say, "Oh," like when just say the PCA Scottish, they don't get the result they want. Oh, it's politics. I was like, mate, it's the PCA Scottish. Like,
I know.
Shut up. You know what I mean?
It's not that deep.
But I think in a pro qualifier, like, so obviously the way I kind of gauged it was there was 3 Spanish judges, an American, and I don't know, French or Dutch or something like that. I think if you've got someone from your own country who you know on stage, you are going to glance at them more. And I think he was given a little bit more stage time and a little bit more presence in the middle of the group, because those 3 Spanish judges were like, well, I know who he is. So they were looking at him and not looking at like the Swiss guy in the end or the German guy that came fourth. I think maybe that's what was happening. And like you said, there was a lot of discussion at the judges' table about, like, you know, they were getting pretty heated, to be honest. And so in terms of like bias viewpoints, I do agree that that could be the case in some shows where, like, I know for a fact that if I was a Scottish judge at a Scottish show and there was a Scottish athlete in front of me, who obviously we know because Scottish bodybuilding is such a tight community, I would be glancing at the Scottish guy more than I would be at the French or the English or whatever. So I think that came into play there. And then for the Swiss guy to then be awarded second, I feel that was maybe the decision of the head judge. I keep forgetting his name, but
Jack.
Yeah, Jack. So I think how could I forget that? So I think he probably had the last word on those placings there and was like, no, that Spanish guy should not be second. So and I feel they gave him the best poser award as like a consolation.
I don't know. So I was in the crowd watching that, and it was like he was waiting at the front of the stage, almost waiting to get called up to go and collect it.
Yeah.
So like, I think that was all kind of pre-scripted, because I actually thought you were going to get that as well. But yeah, so it's what it is, eh?
Yeah, it's what it is, mate. I remember Darren Mullally told me, he was like, "Oh, your mum asked me when you got second in the overall if I'd be disappointed." And in the overall, I was in the middle for, I think, most of the rounds, and then they moved him in last minute, the guy who won, the Ukrainian guy. And to be honest, mate, the first split second of being called second, I was a bit, but you know, I still won my pro card. I'm still over the moon, and I still felt like my physique was better than his. As good as he was, I think I still think I beat him there. But again, you know, it's done. The deed's done, and I've got the pro card now, so I'm not going to cry about spoiled milk. You know what I mean? So
battle it out in the pro ranks instead.
Yeah. So that's kind of the next kind of topic of conversation is the plan going forward. So I'm still not big enough. You know, I'm 5'11", and the guys at the top, like if we, you know, you kind of have to compare yourself guys to the top of the Olympia. So if that's where I eventually want to be, then I feel I need to look up to people like that. So just as I was an amateur, I would compare myself to the guys that won their pro cards on big stages like that. So yeah, the guys at 5'11" are sitting around 270 pounds, I would say, on average.
Like James and that, isn't it?
Yeah. So, and I was 255, like I said. So I've got a stone to go, and obviously I'm not going to add that in a year. There's no chance of adding that in a year. But over the course of 3 to 5 years, I think that's doable.
What's your kind of focal point in terms of where's that going?
it definitely still needs to go to my chest and shoulders. I would say.
Top line, yeah.
In terms of conditioning, I don't know if you've seen my Instagram, but I'm trying to like put a little bit more size in my glutes as well. I felt like I wasn't able to get them dead crispy and grainy this time round. Well, I've never had them crispy and grainy. But I think that's down to the fact I don't actually have dense, hard muscle there. I think the muscle there is relatively shite. So, so there's an emphasis over the next year to bring the density to the glutes and to continue to bring up the chest and shoulders. And I think I just want to see where I stand. If I can get like, I don't know, even a top 10 place in a few shows. So I plan on doing 3. So if I could get, a top 10 place in, I'd be happy, and especially the caliber that you see in Europe just now of the pros. So,
have you got an idea of what you would want to do this your first pro show?
Yeah, so there's a UK Pro this year on the 14th of September. So hopefully that runs next year, and I'll do that because I want number one, I want like my mum and dad to come down. I want the boys from the gym and the boys from up north to come down as well. So I think it'd be cool to be in front of a home crowd, even if it's just to kind of test the waters and see where I am. And then there's like numerous European shows through the year, and I want to do Prague. I want to see where
Prague Pro.
Prague is post Olympia, so you've got guys coming over who even the Mr. Olympia could come over and do Prague. So it's one of those ones where I really want to see where I stand there. I mean, Samson won that one last year, didn't he? I think he won Prague.
Thomson, and then James did that a few years ago, but I can't remember what his result was. But
yeah,
I remember watching James in Prague.
So I definitely want to do Prague. I definitely want to do UK Pro, and I'll do something in between to kind of bridge the gap. And then I've got do you remember, Stephen Ormiston?
Yeah.
So he's invited me to his wedding in November in Louisiana. So I have to have the prep done by late November. So that's
Louisiana.
He's marrying an American. So,
all right.
So
nice
cool.
one.
I'm just gonna try and like wangle my way to a green card while I'm there.
That's
plan.
Yeah, no, that sounds good, mate. It's exciting. It's probably got a daunting feeling, actually, once it settles enough to get your pro card. Yeah, it's probably like a quick high, and then you probably get grounded quite quick, I'd imagine.
Yeah, well, I think you're probably the same. Like you celebrate for about 5 seconds, and then it's a case of, right, what do I do now? And I've been told by numerous times, even Nick was just like, just sit down and enjoy it. And I was like, yeah, okay, but I want to know where I'm going. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's one of those ones. But so with yourself, what you thinking?
So right now we're just running we're just running a health phase. There's obvious certain gaps that need filled. So I spoke to Greg. I've asked Greg if he'll have an involvement in this off season as well. So I think in terms of a timeline, I honestly don't know. I couldn't tell you. I think it's just going to be however long it takes. I think it's just a bit more of everything, and rather, I think exactly what you were just describing with your glutes. That quality of tissue. So I've got the roundness, the fullness. I just need that dryness, that hardness to come with it as well. So actually, I think, and I really want to go back to kind of the bread and butter of what I used to do, which is a lot of the kind of lower volume training. Actually pushing some weight about in the gym. The past off season I had working around certain injuries and niggles and stuff. We actually started kind of getting more training around a higher volume approach. So everything's good now. There's a couple of things, but I want to go back to how I used to train. How I put the size on initially, what I enjoy. So I think that's the approach we're going to take. So it's a big focus on just training, probably at least a year and a half, I think, before I come back and compete.
So 2026.
2026, yeah, probably the latter end of 2026. I think like you're probably the same. When I don't see the value in this year to year, I don't see the point in coming back without actually achieving what I want to achieve now. So I've like everything for me. I do sort of like in stages. So this year was like step on a stage as a proper established super heavyweight, not someone teetering on the edge of the weight cap. See how I kind of fit, stand my ground. Compete abroad amongst a high standard. The next time I compete, I want to go and take something home. So so lots of work to do.
Yeah. Whatever pro show or pro qualify you decide to do, mate, I'll definitely be there. So I want to see that.
Yes. That'll be class. Probably a UK one this time, actually, because I think with Spain, one thing I've learned is that fucking flying, I weighed myself before we took off. I zero carbed it the whole day, the whole flight. Landed and I was like 6.5 kilos up.
That's just mind-boggling.
From travel, it was like, and we got to the hotel. Greg looked at me. He was like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "How?" Like I was like, "Gem." I was like, "There's no point in me even competing. Like, how the fuck am I going to get rid of all this?" It's honestly just insane. Like how my body holds water is just it's disgusting, and it's like impossible to pull off. But I think there was some good in doing Spain and kind of learning about that side of things, because I think I actually looked my best on the Saturday. I thought I looked far better on the Saturday than I did on the Sunday, I think.
I remember Greg's post of you, like you look class, like you definitely managed to shift that layer.
Yeah, it was dry. There was just like there was lines in my legs, everything, and then it came the day and I kind of like smoothed over my legs and smoothed over, seizing up. So, but it's just one of these things, like we desperately had to get that water off, and it's not a position we've been in before, so we didn't really have much kind of information to go by, so we did what we thought was best. But again, live and learn. So next time will be different.
I said, how many with Alicante? What show was that in terms of how many shows you've done?
In total, 14, I think, in my whole life.
I mean, it's still like that was my 26th show, and and I was still like, me and Nick were still like, thinking, should we do this, should we do that throughout the prep. So it just shows you it's a constantly learning process. I think every ounce of muscle you add, something changes metabolically or just the way you process food. So yeah, it's just a constantly learning process. And I mean, I went over to Madrid as a junior. Everyone knows this story, so I'm not going to fucking tell it again. And absolutely fucked it. The weeks prior to it, obviously, as well, like with a binge cycle and all that sort of stuff. So I had a lot of... See, I remember flying when I was sitting next to my mum on the flight, and like, I don't know, I felt this horrible deja vu. But I was like, I haven't done anything wrong. You know what I mean? So it was one of those ones where, like, I remember saying to myself, number one, when I got off stage in 2014 at the Arnold, I was like, I said to my training partner at the time, I was like, I'm never stepping in a gym ever again. I hate bodybuilding, blah, blah, blah. But, obviously settled and stuff. And then from there, that just acted as a learning process. And it was just like, I'll never go back to that place where I was mentally prior to that show, where I was, leading up to the show. I wasn't doing any dark shit. I was doing like 2 sessions a day, because in 2014, like, I didn't even have Graham looking at me or giving me advice, so I was doing it all myself, and I was still quite naive.
Proper junior,
yeah. So it's like, obviously that's a bit more extreme than what happened to you, but it's still all learn process, and you just got to bounce back from it. Coming. So
yeah, how was it having your folks there to see?
It was brilliant. It was really good. So I don't know if I've touched on the podcast before, but my dad's not the healthiest guy on the planet. He's got quite severe Parkinson's, and he does struggle. He does struggle through the day. And fortunately, though, like, I had obviously a great team there. I had a lot of the boys from Glasgow, and James Murphy and Josh from down south as well. So, and obviously I had you guys there, and like Chris, my training partner, he looked out for my dad, and he was. It was great though. It was great because my dad, I think, he needed a bit of excitement, a bit of adrenaline to kind of just essentially kind of power through the kind of symptoms of the Parkinson's and stuff like that. So it was good for him. And I've not been on a holiday with mum and dad since I was 14, so I only clocked on when we were flying over. But it was brilliant to have them there, because every show they've been to except 2013 have not won. So it was kind of like
yeah.
kind of a gamble
Well,
having them there, like a bad omen. You know what I mean?
I can tell you for certain that your mum was proud of you, because I was at breakfast in the hotel, and
Uh-huh.
there was a conversation going on. Obviously, two strangers just having a chat, and I heard this woman speaking about, well, my son, he's won his professional card, and I was like, that must be Andy's man. I was like, you better tell him.
Yeah, it's I look like her
Yeah,
as
that'd be
well. So
cool.
yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
cool.
So no, I was delighted to have them there, and I was very overwhelmed with the amount of people that came out to see me as well. Like it's it was fantastic. Like I said, you, Greg, Erin was there as well. There was a few guys from down south as well. Gregor
Yeah.
was there. I don't know, like he texted me like as I was backstage, as we were backstage, sorry, and he was just like, "Have you been on yet?" I was like, "Yeah, mate, we've just done the pre-judge," and he was like, "Oh, I'll be there in 5 minutes." And then when I was up again in the combination round for the supers, I just saw Gregor,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Fuck, when did he show up?" It was so cool, mate. It was like just the perfect. If I couldn't ask for a better way to win my pro card, basically, just having all you there and obviously competing against you and being on stage with you, and like you and Greg, like kind of calm the nerves a wee bit backstage when we're sitting backstage in the tanning area and all that. So it was
Your
just,
faces, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, it was amazing. It was really, really good, and I think I would love to stand on that stage again in some capacity. I don't know if I think there's 2 or 3 pro shows in Alicante a year.
Probably a
The
good one.
Empro,
Yeah.
and there's not another one. No, the other one's the Portugal one. Aye, so there's a big man in Portugal, yeah. So I definitely want to step on stage again there. So at some point, so yeah, it was fantastic. It was good. It was good. So in terms of like the current scene in terms of bodybuilding, there's a lot going on just now, like leading up to Olympia and that. And to be honest, I've not been too eyes on with the pro league. I think just a little bit selfish. I'm just kind of focused on myself and stuff. But who do you see coming through just now that you feel is the next big thing,
Next big thing.
or a current big thing that you think is going to get even bigger?
Thomson.
Yeah,
It's still that one for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he can do it. Obviously, that's who I want to see win it. I still think there's a bit to go to take Hardy, but it's close. But in terms of, there's the Ukrainian guy, I can't mind his name. Is it Shiroko, or
yeah.
aye, fucking insane.
Aye.
I've never seen every picture that gets posted of him just blows my mind.
Seems to be wasting a lot, because I remember seeing him thinking, "Fuck, his waist is he's destroyed his waist." But the last thing I think Greg sent me, I was like, "Fucking, what's he been doing with his waist?" Like, 'cause it's come right in. So yeah.
And I guess probably there was the Russian guy. His name's totally gone. Good Vito.
Yeah.
Yeah, good Vito.
Yeah.
If
So
you want to
like,
talk about.
it's quite funny because when I see, like, I know Samson personally. We're not friends or anything like that, but we've spoken in real life before, and so it was. I think with Samson, we'll see when I see comments online like, "Oh, he's never going to win the Olympia," blah blah blah. I was like, "Have you fucking seen the progress he's made?" It's like I've not seen progress like that ever. And it's like same with you. Like his time will come. His time will come, and Samson for me, I've got a real soft spot for him, and
Yeah.
so yeah, hopefully he pulls it out of the bag this year. But like you said, Hadi and Derek have got points to prove. Like obviously, Hadi been beaten. He wants to come back and win it again. And Derek, I don't know if we discussed it. I don't think we wouldn't have, because I was at the Olympia and we'd stopped the podcast by that point. But I don't know. There's something about Derek's physique. There's something that I don't quite like about it. I don't know why it is.
Softness. Is that softness?
It's not quite there for me.
Yeah, that's what I think when I look at Derek. I think if you put Hardy next to Derek, it just makes Hadi look even more dry. It highlights his condition. I find Derek to be really full, really round, really bubbly, but just not. Just lacks that dryness like that Hadi has. Don't know, again, if it's like a skin texture thing or something, I'm not sure, but.
So Reagan and I were at the Olympia in November there in Orlando, and like the live feed, photos, nothing actually shows Hadi how he actually looks. See in real life,
I bet you.
I imagine Hadi is what people describe Dorian used to like, because people say all the time Dorian Yates looked even more crazy in real life, and you're like, how the fuck can he look more crazy? Like, he looks insane. And mate, whatever Hadi, whatever kind of genetics or whatever PEDs or whatever diet Hadi runs to look like that, like, I want some of that, because the detail on that guy is fucking insane. And it's just like we weren't too far back, we weren't too far forward either, but we were close enough to see all the tiny individual details on him, and it was just fucking mental. And yeah, like I said, it's like, don't get me wrong, I like Derek's physique, but not when it's standing next to Hadi, if that makes sense.
No, I agree with you. I do agree. I think with Samson as well, it's hard to say. It's hard to say with Samson. I think I've never seen Samson in the flesh.
Crazy,
but again, what Samson seems to always fall to Hadi on is that, again, that dryness, that crispness. Yeah. But again, it's hard to say without actually physically seeing it in the flesh.
Yeah, and Samson's one of those ones as well where, like, he is quite dark skinned, and the videos and live feeds. Same with Terence Ruffin. Like, Terence Ruffin looks way better in real life. So yeah, it's a totally different story in real life. I never kind of bought into it. I've been to numerous pro shows. I've been to the Arnold 3 times. I've been to the Olympia once, and never kind of bought into you need to see these guys in real life is a different story. I was like, yeah, fair play. But with the cameras and stuff we have now, you can kind of get a pretty good eye on what is happening. But when it comes to Hadi, it's just like, no, you need your eye on to see it. Yeah, definitely. It was such a good experience. Them as well.
Yeah, I tell you someone who really doesn't, or I think pictures don't do them justice, versus when you see them on the live stream from the Olympia, is Hunter.
Yeah.
I think like when you see Hunter post on Instagram, it's like it's really hard to scale him. But when you actually see him standing next to guys on stage, it's like fuck.
Yeah, it's like you do get, there are guys out there who are insanely photogenic. We know guys who train in our gyms who are like 10 stone and like they look 40 times the size they actually are. And I took a photo with Derek at his booth, at one of the booths he was working at the 2022 Arnold. And I remember thinking, like, the first my thing was, he's not photogenic at all, because I look about twice the size of him. But he wasn't. Like, trust me, he was twice the size of me. And it just shows you how, like, sometimes physiques don't translate in photos, but like Hunter is a spectacle in real life. Like you said, it's hard to scale him. But like the guy who is the most imposing, terrifying physique I've ever seen, not in terms of conditioning, just in terms of like his stature, is Crizzle. So he was in the gym.
Michael,
yeah, he was in the gym almost every day we were in, because we went quite early before as well to go to Disneyland and that. And you're just like, what the fuck is that? That's not human at all. And I think, but Crizzle looks even bigger because he's got quite a small head. So when you look at him, you're kind of like you've got a tiny pea head. So that definitely helps his stature. He's ridiculously big, and it's so cool. It's so cool.
He was at the Emperor.
Yeah.
So last week, the week before. And I was quite surprised how he came in, actually.
You forget the name of the guy who won he didn't win. It was
Berus, isn't it?
Yeah. That is Aye, but like he's noticed something else though. Anyway, everyone knows what we're talking about. And yeah, like he to me, he's the perfect crossover of classic and open.
Oh,
He's just tiny waist,
100%.
hard as nail, but also gigantic as well. So because he didn't get, was it last year? He didn't get his visa to come through to
That's right.
America.
Yeah, that's right.
It must be some sort of country the Americans don't like, which is most of them anyway. But yeah, it was. He's unreal, and I'd love to see him in real life. So yeah, it's a mad scene we've got just now. It's we've got a lot of talent, a lot of guys coming through, and obviously the old guard are still there, kind of dominating as well. So this year's going to be the Olympia. This year's going to be a bit mad. But I was thinking about booking it last minute. I looked at it, but all the tickets are sold out, so that's a no go.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
I've never been. I'd love to go. Would love to go.
Yeah. And I got an email about the Arnold tickets as well. They're on sale too. So I thought,
yeah, I'll do that.
I've done the Arnold 3 times. It is incredible, and seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger on the stage is pretty cool. But I'm going to bypass that one this year, to be honest.
I don't know about you, but I find fucking Expos pretty difficult.
Yeah, it's like I remember I done my first body power in 2013, and ever since that one, I've kind of been like, meh. So I've done the Olympia Expo. It was good, but you only need 1 day. You don't need 3. Same with the Arnold Expo. Aye, so I think the days of Expos are done for me.
So,
yeah.
What's in terms of pro qualifiers coming up? What's the next? Be Ireland, I think.
Ireland. Yeah, Ireland's on. Yeah,
what?
So I think.
Okay.
I think Liam. Yeah, I think Liam's doing that one.
Liam's doing it. Ross is doing it. Yeah, so couple of Scottish guys going. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's gonna be very. So hopefully they both do well in that. Cause I think Ross has been teetering on the edge for a long time, and I think this is Liam's first year as a super. So it'll be good for him to see where he stands, because he's got, like, obviously because he's so fucking tall and just imposing. So hopefully he can bring in the conditioning and take it home as well. That'd be a phenomenal result for him.
No, that'd be cool.
Yeah. So good luck to them. We'll wrap it up now, mate, because I keep it at 45 minutes. But no, it's good to obviously get chatting to you, get the podcast up and running again. And if you made it this far, guys, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Follow us both on Instagram as well. Obviously, Erin Thomson and Greg Taylor will be on, hopefully, with the next one. We'll have a little bit more in the way of their input. And remember to subscribe to the channel, comment, like, share, all that sort of stuff. And we really appreciate you sticking by us and listening to our shite for almost an hour. So, cheers, guys.
Cheers.